If you're in a difficult place emotionally, you don't need to understand necessarily how you got there to walk out. Let's talk about it.
This is a beautiful thought.
Welcome, beautiful thinkers. So I've been thinking about something. Sometimes people tell me these stories, especially about romantic occurrences that they've had. Like when you have a relationship with somebody, maybe the relationship doesn't even go that long, maybe just a couple of months, 6 months. But still, thinking about it years later, and still it hurts years later. And of course, various stages. I know I talked about this before, about dealing with emotions. There was a video I did on cryptonomics talking about dealing with loss. There's a certain process I think we all go through, and maybe we ruminate on what happened, or we ruminate on the emotion, just trying to feel it, and we start to analyze and try to figure out what went wrong. And of course we ask the question, well, what if I did something differently? That's something that occurs to a lot of us. A lot of the time, I saw this tweet from Neil Strauss the other day, and he said, a lot of the time, the one that got away for a reason. So it wasn't like if you did something differently, things are going to turn out differently, because you're talking about two people, very different natures. In the end, that probably weren't compatible, but we'd like to try to engage in that fantasy or analyze the situation to try to be better next time. But a lot of the time, we don't need to worry about that, because it's just like the way things play out. When I interviewed my friend Anam Pashanta, he said he comes into a romantic relationship with this attitude. Not like he comes in with an attitude. He comes in with this mentality, thinking about, well, whatever is meant to be in this partnership, whatever is meant to be between these two people, that is eventually going to become obvious. And that's his mentality coming in, and it takes off a lot of stress, because it means you don't have to worry, you don't have to think if you're going to make a misstep, something's not going to turn out right. Well, that's probably just what was meant to happen. So you just play along, enjoy the ride, and be confident about what's happening, because it's just an experience that's playing out. It's just two people getting to know each other, finding out their compatibility or something like that. And that's pretty much it. The other day I said to my friend, well, there's a story about this. Well, there's a related story. The story is this. Two monks are traveling, these Zen monks, wandering in Japan, performing a pilgrimage, and they arrive at a river, and they see a woman who is struggling to get over the river. And one of the monks says, "Don't worry, ma'am, I will carry you across the river." And she gets on his back, and he lifts up his robes, and he crosses the river or creek. All three of them get to the other side, and the monk releases the woman, puts it to the ground, and she says, "Thank you." He says, "You're welcome." And the two monks go on their merry way. About 3 hours later, the second monk says to the first monk, "Brother, you know very well the rules that the Buddha laid down for monks. And one very important rule is that we must never touch a woman. And the first monk says, "Brother, are you still carrying that woman? Because I set her down on the side of the river." The point is, we don't have to carry these things. When they're gone, when they're past, that's it. They're gone. They're past. The other story I told my friend is a story from R.D. Laing, and the psychologist from Scotland. And he tells a story. You have a prisoner, and he's been in prison for many years. And eventually, they open the door to the cage and they say, "Hey, buddy, it's your time. You can get out now. You can go free." And the prisoner sits down in his cell and he says, "No, I'm not going. I'm not going to leave until I understand exactly the circumstances that got me in this situation in the first place." That would be an unusual course of action. But of course, that's what many of us do. If we're feeling depressed or heartbroken or something similar, we begin to analyze and analyze and analyze, and we refuse to let go until we understand exactly the situation. Of course, if we give the story a happy ending, the prisoner simply walks out of his cell. That's all it takes. Thank you for listening, and have a wonderful day. Thank you for releasing things that are from your past. Thank you for opening up the possibilities for a bright new future, for new emotions, new experiences, and new endeavors. Have a wonderful day.
A beautiful thought.
Thanks for coming along. Thanks for checking out the website, beautifulpodcast.com. Thanks for subscribing on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, other podcasting apps, and checking out some of the older episodes, going through, maybe listening to one a day to help introduce some extra happiness into your life. And have a wonderful day.
Feel like